is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another very special episode of the Burnout Brighter podcast. This is episode 106. My name is Matt. I'll be your host for this evening's events. I'm joined, as always, by my lovely co-host, Destiny.
Sounded like you were going to say Darren, but then Destiny came out.
Couldn't decide.
Keeping you on your toes.
Destiny.
Yeah.
Hey, guys.
Adding a little zhuzh to it. And my wonderful co-host, Darren.
My name is pronounced Darren.
Sorry, Jaren.
You gotta add some zhuzh to it.
On this week's podcast, we are super excited to be joined by one of Fractured Veil's developers extraordinaire, servant of Badoo, and one of the general nicest and kindest people out on the internet, Ryan from Paddle Creek Games. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having. I am glad that those sacks of dirty money have bought enough favor for you to say those nice things about me. It is honestly my pleasure to be here. You guys are the three coolest and nicest people on the internet. I am just a fourth wheel and happy to be so.
Thank you so much.
That's perfect.
That
Every car needs four wheels to make the world go round. Okay,
oh
Ryan.
God.
That's why we're so happy that you're here with us.
Except
What?
bicycles.
Oh my God.
Nothing. You're right. Yeah, except bicycles and tricycles.
Right.
I said cars.
Okay.
Motorcycles.
Huh?
Oh, I guess that's not cool.
Motorcycles.
That car that Mr.
Unicycles
Bean
as
used to
well.
drive.
Yeah, the Mr. Bean car. You're right, Ryan. That had free wheels.
The European car.
It would always tip over.
That's true.
I guess
Fine.
if anything, that car demonstrates
Any-
why you need four wheels.
That's
Thank
true.
you. Fine. My name is Matt, and I retract my previous statement about four wheels on any car.
No, it's
Good.
On
fine.
any good car. That slander I
Stop.
came up against so quickly.
Stop
Nice.
putting me in your
It's
four-wheel
fine.
box.
Ryan, if somebody doesn't know who you are, what Paddle Creek Games is, and what Fractured Veil is, can you give us the elevator pitch before we get into the nitty-gritty a little bit later?
Oh, you know what's awesome is this, this is going to be a super long podcast because I'm just going to ramble forever. But at the end of some of our live streams, I ask the audience, elevator pitch, Fractured Veil. I'm terrible at this. You got to give me some. And I think the best ones so far are, you'll never go back to Ark, and
Ark
Rust
who?
on Crack or something like that.
Rust
I don't
on
know.
crack. I like that one. I'm
So,
not
I am
promoting
Ryan.
crack, guys. Just
Yeah. Good call. So I'm Ryan. I'm one of the co-founders of Paddle Creek Games, project director of Fractured Veil, which is an open world, massive multiplayer survival game set in the lush paradise of a post-apocalyptic Maui, where everything wants to eat your face off and you want to survive and rebuild civilization. That's a really crappy elevator pitch, or also known as the game that will make you never want to go back to Ark ever again.
There we go.
That is perfect. That should be
I
on
thought
the
that
box
was
art.
great. Yeah, that
Yeah.
should be on the box art.
I'm going to start collecting these from all of our live streams. And if anybody wants to throw an elevator pitch at me, terrible about this. But yeah, massively multiplayer survival game set in Maui. Base building, deep PvE, player progression. We're basically blending all of the great things about the amazing survival games over the last 10 years. The things that we love, while pushing aside the things that we don't love, and then mixing that with the scale and depth of MMOs. How about that?
Yes, that's
that sounded
fantastic.
so
you
deep.
go.
Yeah, that sounded really good.
That's
Darren,
'cause
does that make you want to play it now?
It does. I never said I didn't want to play the game.
I
Yeah,
never said
Darren.
you
Yeah,
didn't
Darren.
either. I'm just like asking because I know it's not
Now
your
do you
type
wanna
of
play it?
game.
Yeah, you said the word now. That implies that I did not want to play it before.
No. See,
God.
she put the emphasis in the wrong spot. Do you want to play it now?
Yes,
See?
right
That makes it
now.
sound-
I put it where I wanted to put it because I know that he doesn't play those type of games.
Yeah,
so
You put
I'm
the
excited.
emphasis on the wrong syllable.
There you go. I was trying to swing it around and meant like play it immediately, but I don't know. That didn't happen. Never mind. Forget it.
Forget it.
Stupid
Consider it forgotten.
podcast. I'm just
You
so done with
tried.
this shit. And hey, okay, last time we had Ryan on when I wasn't there, but there was a lot of things thrown around about me and how I play Valheim, and I would just like to say that they are all true, and I look forward to
What
diving with
things?
Ryan. about how I am chaos incarnate, just killing
It's really
people
not
with
that
trees.
important. But if you guys want to see what we're talking about, this is the perfect opportunity for Matt to put up our last interview. So please, if you want to see how we dogged out Matt, go watch that interview.
Go watch it.
He'll put the information down below.
Talking about like chaos incarnate, I can definitely say that podcast from before was a lot more orderly and mature. So if this is any indication of what your gameplay is like in Valheim, I am like +1ing that opinion, and I've never played Valheim with you before.
Thank you, Ryan. That's very kind of you to say.
I mean,
really
it's more
appreciate
interesting,
really appreciate
and
that.
and it's going to be longer, obviously. But chaos incarnate, watch out.
That's right. Okay, guys, let's dive into a bit of what's new. Ryan, I'm going to start with you. What have you been playing lately? What have you been doing? What have you been watching? What's been going on in life? What's up?
Oh man, so I've been playing Twitch.tv. I've been playing a lot of Fractured Veil. I play the Twitch game, which is just hanging out and playing games vicariously through other people. So I've been watching a lot of No Man's Sky. They're doing all of these crazy Twitch drops for No Man's Sky.
Nice.
And then been watching a lot of what's that new battle royale? The Vampire Battle Royale.
Ooh,
Vampire the Masquerade.
Blood Hunt.
Blood Hunt.
Yeah, that's been looking
that looks
super
dope
cool.
as fuck.
Yeah. I'm loving that somebody besides PUBG, Call of Duty, and Fortnite have an opportunity to like encroach in that space for once and seeing something other than that. And then there's been obviously Ascent. Like Ascent just looks so gorgeous. I'm such a sucker for Cyberpunk. And then New World, the New World beta. Did anybody else do the open beta for New World over the weekend?
No, were you playing it?
No,
I was just watching people play it.
Yeah, I was watching.
Have you?
I love the way he says that. No, I was just watching people play it.
Are you kidding me? It's like 12 hours a day of streaming. Okay, so that's what I've been watching and playing vicariously through my amazing friends on Twitch. But what about you guys?
Let's go to Destiny next. What's up? What's new?
So I have still been watching George the Witcher play The Witcher 3, the DLC Blood and Wine, because each episode is like 3 hours long. So I've been, but I will sit through that entire thing. That's like how dedicated I am. So I've been watching that. I started watching Bob's Burgers from the first season again.
Yes.
And,
oh my god.
Yeah.
Butts.
Yes. I love Tina. Okay, so
there's a lot of carrots in that stew.
Oh god, this show is so good.
It's so good. So I've been rewatching it from the beginning because the new season is dropping, I think, September 26th or something like that. The new season or the movie, I don't know which one it is.
There's a movie?
Movie is next year.
Okay, then it's the new season that's dropping September 26th. So been watching that. Have been working on my articles for level 1. And
amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
Oh my
I'm
God.
so glad you liked it.
Are you kidding me? I was like, Mom, you gotta check this out. There's an article with my name on it.
So my dad just read it. My dad doesn't play video games or anything like that. So he was just like, it's good. It was really long. You know, I really don't know.
Oh my God. Come on, Dad.
It's like, I don't really know anything about games and shit. And he just like sends an emoji of a heart and stuff. I mean, that's just who he is, though. I appreciate that he read it. And yeah, that's all I've been up to. What about you, Darren?
Hold on.
Wait,
Darren,
what?
I'm very sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no,
Destiny, I don't know if you've actually talked on the podcast about what you're doing with level 1 now. So if our listeners aren't on Twitter, can you tell us a little bit about that? What are you doing with level 1?
So I am now a writer with level 1. And my first article, if you guys don't know, was about Fractured Veil.
Oh my God, like the biggest honor anybody could ask for. It was so huge.
No, I was really happy to do it. You're like one of the nicest people. Like you say we're one of the nicest people, but you are like one of the nicest people, one of the nicest developers. Yeah. So I did it on them and their Kickstarter, and it launched the same day as their Kickstarter because we wanted as much information out there because we want you guys to support it. But yeah, I've been writing with them, and you guys can catch me probably like next week. I don't know exactly when, but I'm going to be on their podcast on Wednesday. So that's that's going to be exciting because I have not been on somebody else's podcast, so I don't know how to act. I promise I will not be drunk.
What do I do with my
Too
hands?
much. Tipsy. Yeah.
If you're listening to this episode the morning it came out, Level 1 does stream their show, so she will be live tonight.
Whoa.
When this episode goes live, so go support.
All right. So,
I know
yeah,
I will be.
go
Every
watch
time you guys hang out with me, you can say you stream the show too.
Oh my
There you
god,
go.
yeah.
So this is no
And
different.
we just started streaming with Paddle Creek Games.
Welcome to the 21st century. And for
Yeah.
anybody that doesn't know, it's lv1gaming.com. So lv1gaming.com. Great site. So much better now that this lady is on it.
I thought you were going to say
So
so much better now
yeah.
that Fractured Veil is mentioned on this website.
I mean,
Well,
like,
that too.
yeah.
It's
That's
a
two
2 for
for
1.
sure.
Yeah, it's a 2 for 1. You can't really go wrong either way.
Exactly, a twofer.
Exactly. So yeah, make sure you guys go support Destiny over at Level 1 Gaming. We'll add that to the show notes below, running every week, so you can go catch up on her articles and the amazing work the rest of the crew does over there. Now let's go to Darren. Darren, ball toss. What's going on? What's new? Whew.
I have been deep into a hole of Phoenix Wright and the Phoenix Wright series.
Nice.
We had when we had Danny from Validate on previously, I saw on her like the Twitter for Validate, they had one of their posts that had like all the Psylocks from the Phoenix Wright series, and I'm like, shit, I played the first 2 games, I never finished the third one. I gotta go do that. So I played through the third Phoenix Wright game in the trilogy, and I still wasn't satiated with my thirst for courtroom drama. So I bought the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles on my Switch, which is like Phoenix Wright.
It.
Yeah, it's like Phoenix Wright, but turn of the century, where it's the Phoenix Wright's ancestors in Japan goes to Great Britain and solves crimes and cases there. And it's really, really good. Like, I'm actually liking it, I think, better than the original trilogy, just because now it's got 3D models. Now it's got some voice acting and some proper cutscenes. It's much easier than the original trilogy, unfortunately. I think that it's a little too heavy on the visual novel and lighter. Like, there's 2 phases, investigation and court. Investigation is now basically like pure visual novel. There's like no gameplay whatsoever. And then the courtroom thing has been expanded though, and exciting. And I'm just at the end of the first game of the 2 that are included in the collection. And I cannot stop playing this series. I am not going to be a member of this podcast anymore. I'm going to law school to become a defense attorney. So
Okay.
It's
All right,
nice
bye,
knowing
Darren.
all of you.
That does
there-
remind me, do you guys remember it was like a game about managing a fairy village, and within that game was like a hidden game, and
Frog
part of that
Fractions.
hidden game was being what's that?
Well, the Frog Fractions was the hidden game.
yes,
and
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember what the
Frog
original
Fractions
fairy
2 was
game
hidden
called.
inside of what fairy game?
That's sad. That the original game is not memorable, but the game inside the game.
Well, that's
is
what makes the
memorable.
game so memorable, is that there's like the
Frog
game within the game. Like Frog Fractions 1 was insane, but I can't remember, they hid Frog Fractions 2 inside of that fairy village simulator, and there was like a 2-hour section of that hidden game that was you were an attorney defending insects from like some insect crime thing.
Yeah,
Oh, chat, does anybody know in chat?
I can't remember.
I know what you guys are
I've
talking about. I've never played it.
I've never played
Oh my god,
it.
it's so good. Like it's so good. It's like you're. Yep, sorry.
The fairy game was called Glitter Mitten Grove.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Glitter
good
Mitten
name.
Grove. And yeah,
You know
that Frog
what?
Fractions minigame was exactly parodying the Phoenix Wright games.
I would not expect any of you to play a game called Glitter Mitten Grove.
Oh, well, the only reason is because you just know that Frog Fractions 2 is in there somewhere.
Exactly. You gotta play
That's
Frog
the
Fractions
only-
too.
Just like the only reason you play Frog Fractions 1 is because of what happens when you discover the Easter egg, and It's so crazy. I heard about
Now
this
I
on
feel like I gotta
the
go
Idle Thumbs
play it.
podcast. Oh yeah, you have to play it.
You have
It's
to.
like having an acid trip without knowing that you're having an acid trip
Oh
in a
my
video game.
god.
You're just like, what is it? You're just like, is this ever going to end? Where is it going to go
Yeah.
next? You're like on a spaceship,
I'll
like
never-
managing some weird thing, and then you're defending insects in a epic like legal battle, and then it just goes on and on.
I think at one point you
have
start
what made
selling
the-
drugs or something like that.
Yes, yeah.
Oh my
there's
god, you
drugs,
don't know
cocaine.
that sounds dope as fuck.
Yeah, Destiny and I tried to get in cocaine in Korea so many times. Could never find any.
So many times.
A quick question, just because, and this may be a dumb question, but does Frog Fractions actually deal with any sort of fractions or math? Because
yeah,
I
Frog
have
Fractions 1 is a math game.
It is.
Yeah,
There-
but in order to like find the real game, the math it's just a
Math's
front, man.
fake.
It's a
just
front.
it's like the Asian laundromat on the corner. They're just laundering money for the Yakuza. Everybody knows it. But
Yeah.
you
Yakuza,
play
I'm
it,
in.
you do the math, and then all of a sudden you go under the world, and then it's like the real game like expands.
That's wild.
It's so good, and I love
Do I
that
need
only-
an abacus?
No.
No, it's
No.
like it's like a kid's
You have
math
the
game.
internet.
Yeah,
Just
it's-
type it in if you don't know it.
Listen, if I'm gonna play it, I want to play it properly. I need to get an abacus. That's
Who
what I want
says
to
that's
know.
not playing it properly?
The first
In
game
my
is free
world,
as
if I'm
well.
playing a math game, I need an abacus.
The first game's free.
Yeah, you
as
definitely
well.
yeah. It was like a flash game.
Yeah.
Oh, free math? I want to pay for my math.
Okay.
Oh my god, shut up. Moving on. Matt, what have you been up to?
I have been playing a whole bunch of stuff. Reviewed Kraken Academy. That's up on our channel. Loved it. Talk about an acid trip of a game that has an Ace Attorney style courtroom battle at one point. That happens. In
Does
that
it
game.
actually really?
It's basically it really really does.
Oh my God.
So like, make sure you go check out the review. It's one of my favorite indies this year so far. Also, now that embargo's up, I can talk about Deathloop. Deathloop is fucking awesome. I had an had an absolute blast with it. I was really nervous about a couple of things. Like, I thought it might get too repetitive. This year has been huge on roguelikes, and like obviously another one entering the fold. This is much lighter on the roguelike side of anything than it is the rest of it. It's really, really well done. Voice acting is a blast. It gives me very like Assassin's Creed-esque multiplayer stuff where like another player can invade your game and try and mess you up when you're running around, and like some of the most tense moments and anxiety-inducing things when I was playing that multiplayer is just so good. Full review up on the show on the channel as well. And I just started in on Tales of Arise. That was my weekend plan, but then Deathloop happened, and I'm a couple hours into Tales. Massive Tales fan, so I was already super looking forward to this. Arise is beautiful. The combat is awesome. I usually play JRPGs with the Japanese voice cast in with subtitles, just because that's how I like to do it. But I heard such good things about the voice cast for Arise, I decided to start it with in English, and it's actually really good. Like, I have trouble sometimes because I'll find like the English voice is kind of grating at points, but the cast in Arise is super good. Having a blast with it. So stoked that it's rated so highly, because I've been a Tales fan for a very long time, and it's nice to see that Arise is possibly getting its Persona 5 moment of kind of coming out and joining more into the mainstream, because the series is so good and that game is awesome.
And so that was you playing that, because I see Arise, a simple story came out in 2019. Is this a different one?
So this is Tales of Arise. It's from the Tales JRPG series. So like they've done like Tales of Symphonia, Tales of Berseria, and this is the latest one, Tales of Arise. It's a big old JRPG. And I'm glad to say one of my most like anxiety-inducing moments going into a new JRPG is pressing pause during a cutscene for the first time and see what's going to happen. Just because there's been so many times where I press pause and the cutscene skips or anything else. Arise just pauses it. Very happy with that. So make sure, if you guys are itching for a new JRPG, go check that out. And Deathloop is out tomorrow as well. That game is so badass. Go check it out. It's so good.
It looks like the combat's a lot more like action driven than. Is that just where JRPGs are going now? The combat's just less turn-based, less kind of what potions to drink when. It's more about Twitch skills and.
The Tales series has actually always been
they've
more
always
action,
been like that.
more action oriented. It's almost like action meets like a fighting game, because they used to actually be on a 2D plane when you got into a battle, and you kind of move back and forth in like a 2D plane in a 3D environment. Now it's completely open. It's still within like an arena, but it's very dependent on making sure like it's almost like fighting game meets action combat. It's like your combos and how the different things link together. It's really, really well put together. Loving Arise so far. But that's it for me. We are here today to have a wonderful conversation about with Ryan about Fractured Veil, about their Kickstarter and everything that's going on. So Ryan, how is the Kickstarter going so far? Let's kind of start, nice and big, nice and easy, because you guys seem to be crushing it so far. How did it feel to finally press that launch button?
Oh my God. So it's 5 years in the making, and the coolest part about pressing the launch button is we did it. And so we were on a Google Hangout because 2 of the founders are on the West Coast and 2 of us are here in Montreal, and then 1 guy's in North Carolina. So we're like, we pressed the launch button, and then everyone's like, okay, let's bring out our wallets and let's do like a $25 pledge, just to like say that we pledged $25 to the $100,000 goal. And before any of us had like our wallets out, there was just like ding, 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 and it just kept on coming in and kept on coming in.
That's
and kept
awesome.
On coming in. Well, I think we ended up pledging like $1 each because we just wanted to like have a screenshot of us pledging like $1 just to say we did.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was like before it like first one came in for $25 and everyone's like, oh, was that you? Was that you? And it was nobody. And then the second one, the third one, and literally within 30 seconds, we had, I don't know, like 20 pledges just pour in. So we had this amazing community just primed and ready to go. And we don't have a publisher behind us, so we don't have the ability to go wide in terms of our messaging, but we do have the ability to go really, really deep and to make just hardcore fans and hardcore evangelists out of not only the game, but also the community and everything that goes around the game and how it's made. So it was just the most humbling experience to watch that like play out with the pledges in real time. And yeah, it was just snowballed from there. And I think within 24 hours, we had 30 or 32% of our goal raised. And then over the weekend, we hit 50%. So 50% within 5 days, I think. And then now it's just going to be grinding for 3 weeks and just making deeper connections with other communities and really just presenting this super authentic and super, I don't know, like connective message of we're making this great game, but we want you to be a part of it. And we actually want to give you a voice and a seat at the table, because again, we can't go and just drop $100,000 to get every streamer in the world to play the game. Mm-hmm. So we kind of have to go to these amazing content creators that are really excited about indie games and getting behind them, and go to them and say, okay, we can't just like throw money at you, but what we can do is we can bring equal value in other ways, such as helping you cultivate a really positive community by giving them access or taking their feedback, or just giving them like 3 hours of my time where I can let them ask questions about game development, about survival games, and bring them into the conversation. And it's like the most absolutely wonderful thing to get these messages from these content creators who have become like really close friends of mine, and just say, thank you so much. My community is growing. My community is more vibrant. They tell me how lucky they are that they're a member of like the Standard Damage community, because we get to access this game. We get to be part of the conversation about this game. And so I don't know, I think it's so much more valuable than, I mean, money's nice. We all need to eat, but It's kind of like the long term over the short term. And I really am happy that not only is it playing out well for the money raised, but it's also playing out really well for these creators that are able to cultivate a bigger and more positive community through the stuff that we help them organize with Fractured Veil.
Oh, that's so awesome. So as of time of recording, just so everybody's aware, you guys are at 53,413 pledged out of the 100,000 goal in only like 6 days. That's incredible. Or in Monopoly Canadian money, you are $67,698 pledged out of your $126,744 Canadian money goal.
Yes.
Kickstarter handling those conversions nice and proper. That is awesome, Ryan. I'm so stoked for you guys, because the game is already looking incredible, and there's just the way that you cultivate your community and work with the people around you is just so, it's so nice to see. And like, especially for when Destiny and I met you the first time back at PAX Online, we got off that call with you being like, that was a ton of fun. Like, we both were kind of uplifted and stoked and just excited to talk, because you and the community and the game are all fantastic.
Yeah, well, I mean, likewise, right? Like, it wouldn't be great and an amazing call if we all weren't on the same wavelength of awesomeness. So I had two amazing people like pumping me up. So it was child's play just to give you like a tenth of the energy you were giving me back. So it was like the first podcast we did. I was so grateful to hang out with you guys. You never know what you're going to get at PAX, right? And we just really lucked out. And it's the same with our community. I just feel like, I don't know how much of it is luck and how much of it is, from our efforts, but we just have gotten so lucky to have these amazing people rise up in our community and want to take leadership roles. And everybody is just pumping the game out to the world. We're reaching out to content creators. Like, it's just been very, very, it just feels very, very lucky all around. And I'm so, so grateful that we're as blessed as we are.
I think the fact that you're so transparent and you're so open to talking about like changes in the game and letting people speak up about what they'd like to see is really like what helps like your community. I don't know a lot of developers who are like genuinely out there trying to hear what people say. Like, they'll put the game out first and then people will have complaints and then they'll go back and fix it. But you're trying to produce something that, we're all like, people who like to play those type of games, like me. I love survival type games. I love that you're having these conversations with us, because I don't know of any other survival type game that's actually done that, actually allow us to be a part of the community in the way that you're doing with Fractured Veil.
I don't know why. Like, I don't know why that's just not the de facto mode, because so not only do we listen to our community, but we like shout it from the rooftops every time a bug is fixed or a feature is implemented. Like, who made the suggestion? We call them out on the Steam updates. We put them in the commit logs. Like, we want to not only take the great ideas, but we want to give credit where credit is due for the great ideas. And when you do that, it's been 2 years almost since we've opened the game up to beta testers, more like a year and a half of starting with a couple hundred people and then organically growing it just from word of mouth. And since then, it's at least, the number in my head is 432, but I think it's more than that in terms of bugs fixed or features implemented because a tester or a community member suggested or found it. And after like 400 plus of those things, you just realize that if we didn't have those people, that would be like 40 bugs fixed or found or things implemented, and this game would be like 10 times worse than it is right now, or it's 10 times better than it would have been. And so it builds this amazing community that wants to support the game and is going to go out and evangelize it because they feel, rightfully so, that they're a part of the process and they have a seat at the table. But B, it just allows you to make a better game because you don't have to guess what your people want. They're just telling you what you want.
Yeah.
And there's this great, I always give shout outs to this video series. There's this great video series on DayZ by Soviet Womble on YouTube. And I'd recommend everybody watch like the third installment of that series, because it essentially lays out why the survival genre exists. And it's because in terms of the DayZ mod, they looked at what the most popular expansions and mods for the DayZ mod were, and then they just went and they're like, no, we're going to do these ones instead. And they were like somewhere in the bottom 10, and then they released that as the standalone, and the community was like, this isn't what we wanted. And then the Rust guys came in and they're like, let's just give them what they clearly wanted by the popularity of the mods for DayZ. And then they just made Rust, and then Rust just like crushed everything in the market. And then Ark came out, and then like all of these other games came out by just basically looking at what were the most popular DayZ mods and what's not being filled in terms of demand, and let's just fill that niche. And so
and you hardly hear anyone talking about DayZ anymore.
No, for sure, right? And so it was just like such an eye-opening moment of like, oh, we really, really need to listen to these people, because it takes all of the guesswork out of it.
Especially because I feel like so much of like large AAA development now, and like, I mean, I think the most egregious recent example still remains Cyberpunk, where they almost like hid things behind review embargoes and like they weren't honest about what they were doing. with the approach that you guys are taking, like you said, A, you feel like you're part of the process, but B, that transparency is something that I don't think we see a lot of in the industry at large. And it's so refreshing. And you feel better buying into the product because, well, sure, yeah, you can help create what you want out of it, but also what the developer is telling you. Exactly. You know that there's open and honest communication on both sides, which I think is really refreshing and not something we see enough of.
Yeah, I mean, on the other hand, I look at how much money Cyberpunk made, and I was like, maybe we're doing this all wrong, man. Like, there's a lot of zeros behind those sales, and we're just like, we're grinding over here.
You can't look at it like that because Cyberpunk also had other games behind them, other titles behind them. So like,
and like $200 million.
Yes.
Like that.
An even better example too is apart from the horrific stuff that was happening at Activision Blizzard, World of Warcraft was already losing a lot of players to Final Fantasy XIV because of the lack of communication. People were constantly complaining for patches and expansions and months at a time that there are certain features they didn't like in the game and Blizzard wouldn't fix them. But Final Fantasy XIV, they are constantly listening to their players. They're constantly making updates from the community, and they've attracted a lot of those World of Warcraft players just through their amount of communication.
Well, they've learned because their first MMO was trash.
Yeah.
When it first came out, it was garbage, and people were like really pissed off about it. So it's not like they came out the door.
But didn't they just like pull that and like remake it from the ground up? Like they didn't go ahead and be like, okay, we'll release the next game in the series. They're like, no, we're like doing this whole thing over again. And then like, but to your point, they listen, they fix, but then they also sit down, they do those like fireside chats every week where the producers sit down live and they just talk things through. And it's not only about fixing it, it's making sure that you have that conversation with your people so that they know that that you're hearing their stuff and what they want and all of this. It's crazy to see how that's shifted because I don't think anybody ever thought that WoW would ever be dethroned from its perch.
No.
Yeah, I know.
Kind of. Yeah. Well, this is kind of like the way of the future, and like AAA developers really need to take notice of it. Like, we're not just making games for boys, right? We're making games that include all kinds of diversity, and we all want different things. So you really got to listen to what we want. And I get it that like sometimes these creators want to make their vision, but moving forward, if you want a game to be successful and you want other people to enjoy it, you got to listen to what they're saying.
Yeah, so I mean, the interesting thing with that is for our demographic, for example, like, so we were running Facebook ads and we just had our video trailer and we had like PvE and do this and do that. And we ran it to everybody. And the clicks were 97% male, even though we were showing the ad to male and female. And so it's a tough thing in our situation because so we've done as much as we can to be inclusive, but it's still the guys that are clicking on the ad. So I think with some genres, you're still going to see developers still just making games to boys until that changes. And I don't know, it's kind of like the chicken or the egg thing. Like, how do you get female players interested in a game when the imagery is all geared toward guys? But then are they just looking at like test groups and being like, well, it's 97% guys that are interested in our game, so we should just cater towards them? And I can feel the dilemma for the accountant who doesn't care about any of this because he's just like, well, dollars and cents. And it's for us, it's a lot easier because there isn't $800 million on the line. But I think it's, if you look at a game like the Call of Duty franchise and they're just like we know who our audience is, are we going to risk a $200 million game? Or are we going to risk like 2%? Like, I don't know. It's with those big companies, it just comes down to like metrics and analytics, and it's not even like people playing their game. It's just, I mean,
numbers.
For the people designing those games, those people are still passionate for the gamers. But then once you go a certain level above them, there's just somebody looking at numbers.
Yeah. But it sucks because I think that if they did like cater to, okay, so the thing is that like when you look at games like Rust and DayZ and like most of the videos you see about that, most of the promotion, most of like the YouTubers playing that are guys. It doesn't
Right.
look like it is inclusive for a lot of girls to
Of
play.
course.
And those communities aren't very nice to girls who want to play. So I think that like when it comes down to that and I don't know when they're going to do it or if they're going to do it or if they care to do it, but they need to make it a safe space for women to want to play. Like no girl wants to go in and play a game where she's going to be harassed 24/7 just for speaking, right?
Just for speaking.
So
well, I mean, what I love about Rust so much is I just like that was such a badass move when they're just like, nah, you don't get to choose what you look like anymore. We're just gonna make
yes,
all of
that
the
was great.
racist, misogynistic men get to be black women now. That's who you get to be, and then you get to be yelled at and screamed at by everybody that sees
Right?
you running around.
I love
They're
it.
just like, oh, the amount of just like
people were mad,
jerk
big
people
mad.
that were being like screamed at in the way that they had just been screaming at everybody else.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so good. But yeah, but the crazy thing is that you shouldn't have to do that, right? You shouldn't have to end up
Yeah.
doing that in order to make it an inclusive space. You should be able to give people that choice, and that's what we're really, really trying to do. And I think it starts with cultivating the core of your community, so that it's always going to be a vocal minority who are the toxic people. They just make the most noise. You're going to have
Yeah.
100 people that aren't saying
Yeah.
anything, that one guy screaming like the drunk uncle at Thanksgiving. And if you can develop like this super strong core of positive people, then that one person screams, and then you've got like 100 people that just stand up and say, not here, you can't do this in our house. And then that one person kind of goes away. And so far we only have 4,000 people in our Discord, but it's just like nonstop positivity and just a welcoming environment, which apparently in survival games is pretty uncommon.
Yeah, no, it is pretty uncommon. So I appreciate that like you're catering it and that like you're making it one of your priorities. So I'm telling all of my female friends who like to play survival type games, because I have a lot, about this game. Because usually like the other games will come up and they'll just be like, oh, it's the same old shit. And then you can't, one of the issues is like you can't build up something without somebody coming in and just fucking everything up and things like that. But you guys have also kind of addressed that with the PvE and the PvP, and that like the fact that a PvP player might go over to a PvE player, there's really no benefit in it, right?
Mhm.
Like just killing them and destroying their stuff. So that's another way that you're making it more inclusive, because like I know most of my female friends, and I'm not saying this for all females, but we like to build, create, and harvest and that kind of stuff. Like that's what we like doing in the game. So yeah,
100%. And so that's, I mean, for us, that's also the easiest part of the game to kind of make attractive, because it doesn't involve other players. Like it just means more content as we have to build all of these building pieces. But it's really, really easy to balance a fun base building experience compared to a fun PvP experience. So that's really where we started. And then as the game grows and we get more PvP players, because PvP is the core to, I believe, a long-term successful survival game.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen too many survival games enjoy like long-term growth, consistent growth without like a hardcore PvP element. They have their big spikes like Valheim, and then they have their slow decline. And then the developer essentially just has to create content like an MMO to keep them busy, and they get on this content treadmill because there's only so many times you're going to kill 10 rats. But with PvP, every experience is different. People get a lot more hardcore invested in the game. So for us, the challenge is, how do we get those people in at the beginning that want to do what you want to do, while building up this core of people that want a PvP, without either of these groups just ruining the experience for the other. And it's tough.
well, I'm glad that you're working on it, because we need more of it.
Someone's got to do it.
Yeah.
On a completely different note, I have a separate question, because I'm very curious. Now that you've got this Kickstarter, I'm always wondering, like, what is something that maybe you noticed about running a Kickstarter that people might not necessarily know is a factor that has to be worried about, or something along those lines?
There are so many of those things. And so what I would recommend first and foremost is go and talk to somebody like Tomas at the crowdfunding agency, the guys and gals at TCA. go talk to somebody like Andrew or Sean at Next Level Web and just ask them that same question, and they'll give you like a rap sheet. But in terms of that, we were very fortunate in that we did this is just start way earlier than you think you need to start, and start building a community.
Yeah.
Like start building a community around concept images, around an idea. Like you can't go to Kickstarter without a demo, without, in terms of video games, the video game Kickstarter community is so jaded and has been ripped off so many times
Yeah.
that you have to essentially go to them with a pretty much either a finished game or a reputation that has decades of like successful titles behind you, or past Kickstarters, or else you're just not going to get very far. So in order to like, leverage that, you need a community, and you need to just start building that early on. So what I would say is, like, if you think it's going to take 3 months of prep work to do your Kickstarter, you should be building your community 18 months in advance, slowly and surely. And then outside of that, it's just like, be prepared not to sleep, be prepared just to like work around the clock, getting anybody that'll listen to you, and just giving your time all over the place. I'm trying to think of like, there's just so many things that went into this.
How much
How
time
important
and like
stretch goals
effort went
are.
into like planning the rewards and everything? Like how, like that must take so much effort to figure out how you're going to structure
So the
your campaign.
rewards and whatnot, that was kind of with video games,
Yeah, I
that's
feel
really
like
easy.
that's the easier part. Yeah.
Because we just say, like, we just look at other Kickstarters, and it's all like digital virtual content, right? So we can say every backer above $500 gets a custom bazooka, and that's fine. We just make one bazooka, everybody gets it. Board games, it's way harder. It's like everybody over $500 gets a custom miniature. Now you got to worry about like 3D printing and shipping and painting and all of this stuff. So for video games, that's a little bit easier. That being said, maybe there was better goals for us to put that would have enticed people more. I don't know. Um, the other thing is like, Facebook ads are amazing. Like, just do a deep dive. If you can listen to Crowdfunding Nerds, the podcast, they deep dive into all sorts of things about how to run ad campaigns, even if it's only like $20 a day. Um, like an email list, like I would have thought 4 months ago that an email list would be so crucial. And I just like lumped email marketing in with direct mail, the
Right.
flyers you get in your mailbox,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
just go
yeah.
straight to the recycle. Like, nobody reads these things. Same with emails. Nobody reads these emails. Guess what? 22,000 people read our emails every week, and
Wow.
they are the single largest group of contributors to our Kickstarter campaign is our email newsletter. Like, it's crazy.
I never would have expected that. Yeah, because similarly to you, I just kind of like, the emails will come in. I'm like, all right, I take a quick look and then I move on. But to that it's that deeply ingrained into what you guys are doing is really shocking
Like,
for me, just as someone looking from the outside in.
So I have a
that
question
was
for you, Matt. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Ryan, but really quick. Like, if you got an email about something happening new with Persona 4, would you read it?
Sure. Well, yeah. I mean, obviously.
Okay, so like I feel like that's part of it too. Like if you're interested in what you're getting emailed, if you signed up for the newsletter, then you're
Yeah.
probably more apt to, following it.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
particularly
true.
like, to your point, if you made a choice to sign up for the email list, then I don't know. Yeah, then that's a whole different story than if somebody's just spamming you.
Yeah.
yeah, entirely.
Yeah.
Like I think
So
Matt, you did to me one time where you put up my email and signed me up for, I think, Everest College. Yeah, that was a good moment.
Yeah, we may have signed him up for a community college. But
And
anyways,
Best
how did
friend
how did that degree go?
Oh,
You
it was
doing okay
great.
with that?
I now have a degree.
they kind of
in,
just sent it to him in the mail.
Yeah,
Sure,
yeah.
sure.
I said I have a theoretical degree, and then they're like, good enough, and they're like, now it's a physical one.
Nice. If
So proud of
only
you,
it were
Darren.
that easy.
I'm so proud. So proud.
Yeah,
So-
but I'm trying to just like, we have a giant checklist, and like there's so many things that it really just pays to have somebody that's done this before a couple dozen times to walk you through and just save you from learning these things the hard way.
for sure.
So if you, let's say somebody was coming into the Fractured Veil Kickstarter and they were kind of looking at everything, what would be like, what is your favorite reward that you guys are offering? Like if you had to, like, it doesn't even have to be like a tier, but if you could like boil it down to one, because I know Destiny was very excited about the Hawaiian t-shirts, but like what if you could boil it down to one, what is your favorite reward that you guys are putting out there?
Oh, let me
I was excited about that before the tiers
so
came out.
Okay, so
no, I know.
Like
so this one isn't like, so at the $10,000 tier you can like come and hang out with us in Hawaii as we have a big party and all of that stuff. So I mean, obviously that's like, it's kind of like a fun, is anybody going to do this to come to Hawaii with us? Probably not. They're going to do it because they love the game so much and they want to support us. But I would say it's not the biggest tier, but honestly, the most touching thing that I've heard in this entire Kickstarter campaign is somebody, what tier is it? Somebody backing so we have this system in the game where anybody can send us a photo, and it goes into like a review process, into an automated system. And once it gets approved, it gets automatically uploaded into our build. So we have a build machine that every time anybody commits anything new to the repository, kicks off a new build. And so there's this form that you fill out and you attach an image, and we get alerted on Discord. We go we review the image and we click on approve. And if it gets approved, then it goes from that server over to the build machine server, and a build automatically gets kicked out with a picture or with a link to the online URL of this image that's now on our servers. And we have a system that procedurally places pictures hanging on the walls in all of the abandoned buildings and all the abandoned houses. And somebody wrote me and said, I backed you at $180, maybe $250, because I really thought that this would be an amazing way to honor my parents that passed away a year ago, and they loved going to Hawaii so much, and it was one of their favorite destinations. And I thought, how amazing would it be to have their picture all throughout the houses? And I was just like crying reading this message.
Oh, God.
And I was like, oh my God, like that's my favorite thing in this entire, that's the favorite thing I've heard for this entire game, is I'm gonna immortalize my parents.
That's so touching.
Is incredible. Oh my God. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, it like makes me cry just talking about it right now. And I mean, for us, it was just like we have it posted. We're like, have your pet in the game, because it's like, send us pictures of your dog or your cat. And it's just dogs and cats. And then we'd never thought that, and this just shows kind of that depth that we try to cultivate this community. We never thought anyone would honor us so much with saying, this is a way that I want just random people for years to come playing this game, just to see these two people in love hanging on the side of a wall and be like, oh, those look like lovely people. Oof.
Oh, that is so beautiful.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
That's really touching.
That's incredible. Oh my God. I got like chills listening to that story. Again, like, because I remember reading the rewards and I was kind of like, it would be cool to get my dog in there. Never would I have expected that somebody would go to that level and to like honor their parents in such a beautiful way. That's amazing.
I'm guessing that photo got approved.
So I see it. It's going to get
declined.
Wow.
So nice. Goodbye.
I don't even want to joke about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
No, we don't do that here.
No. Something else that I was curious about. I really love multiverses, especially now, like anybody who's watching the MCU, we're going into full on multiverse. So I love this idea that you guys have of the multiverse of your veils. Can you tell us a little bit about like, how does that really work? And like, what are your hopes and dreams for like, are you planning like grandiose, ridiculous possible veils in the future? Like how is that going?
A veil made of cheese.
Yeah. So that's where we're starting to blend more of the MMO into the survival genre, of just creating more of like a metaverse of servers that people can travel between. And there's a lot that goes into that to make sure that people can't just like rampage through the metaverse and just be like locusts and wipe out server after server after server. But we want it to be a way that we can spread the population out across multiple CPUs so that we can have a lot of people that are playing together, even though they're on different servers. But then at any point, they could travel to each other's server and meet up. But also as a way to create a little bit more, I guess, diversity in terms of variation on a theme. So you're all going to spawn in this nice lush jungle place, and then you'll find these veils or these portals throughout the world, and they'll be connections to the satellite servers or the flagship server within a cluster. So let's say you have a jungle cluster and it's got a flagship server and then a bunch of these satellite servers connected to it. And those satellite servers will be variations on a theme. So it's the jungle theme. So the variations might be a longer day-night cycle. They might be more vicious mutants. They might be less vicious mutants. They might be more wolves, like whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And so as a new player, you're going to spawn, depending on the population, most likely on one of those satellite servers. And then the goal, not the goal, but what you're going to do is you're going to explore the island and you'll start finding these veils, and they will take you to either another one of those satellite servers or to the flagship server that connects them all. And then from there, that's a jumping off spot to a different flagship server. And this all came about as inspiration after playing Valheim. When you get to mid-level Valheim, and you've got your bases in all of the different biomes, and you're just kind of like teleporting from base to base. You're like, I need something in that biome. I'm just going to teleport 3 times, go to that biome, grab the stuff, teleport back to my front base, build with it. And I really like that idea, but taking it to a much grander scale where you're teleporting to these different parallel worlds that have their own biome as you move from cluster to cluster, and you have your home server, but you can go be tourists in these other spots to get something unique there and bring it back to make your base stand out from everybody else's base. So it's a great way to introduce biomes in a much more kind of grand way than just having them be a place that you have to run to. And it also gives players this whole other level of exploration where you're not just exploring the island of Maui for cool dungeons and where the great loot is, but you're also exploring the island for where these portals are. And then from those, you get to explore this metaverse like a Star Citizen star map or something like Elite Dangerous, where you're like navigating from system to system. And then at each system, there's a whole new set of secrets to uncover and a whole new history, because that group of players has been playing there for like a year. So they have a whole different meta going on in that server than from where you come from. And it just seemed like just way too cool not to do that.
Yeah.
Will all the biomes be like set in Maui? Like, will all of them be set in Hawaii?
Right.
Okay. So
yeah, so we were using like a height mapped. We've created the island of Maui from the height maps from the U.S. Geological Service, and we're really trying our best to make sure that we recreate Maui as accurately as we can in terms of geography and landmarks and whatnot. But then the parallel worlds stuff allows us to be like, what would it be like in an ice age? Or what would it be like if the sea levels rose by 50 feet or anything like that?
That's so
I'm a
cool.
sucker for like alternate history.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for any kind of game that like has a zone that changes appearance like multiple times throughout the game or something like that, because you spend so much time to getting to know a place. And then when you have something come in and just change that location, it's you're seeing it from like this totally new perspective. I love it.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Oh, that's so cool. So there is how long left? As of recording, there is 23 days to go on the Kickstarters. When this time goes up, it's 21. You'll have 3 weeks. How are you feeling going into the next 3 weeks? Where is your head at? How are you feeling? And kind of like what are the plans to kind of help get it to its 100% goal?
Right. Yeah. So just like grinding every day, and it's just connecting with content creators, building relationships we already have, reaching out to new content creators. We've had our community create a thread of all of the content creators that they think we should reach out to or that they follow. So getting our community to reach out to these people and just ask them, have you heard of Fractured Veil? So that I can, am I still in, I'm such a noob. No, so that I can go ahead and follow up with them. And really it's what it's all about. Like we're not getting IGN and GameSpot and everybody else to give us play, because we've sent them emails and we get no replies. And it's one of these things where, that would be possible with a publisher that's going to pay them a bunch of money to feature the game. But without that, we're diving real deep and developing meaningful connections with as many content creators as we possibly can. And it's way more fun. It's way more fun. So that's what I do, like 8 to 12 hours a day. I'm just streaming, making video content, And like you saw on my Twitch, I have like 910 followers on Twitch now. So maybe mid-campaign, I just give up game dev altogether, get into make some sweet esports money.
Yeah.
I think that's so cool. So it's more like word of mouth, which I mean is always a valuable way of like advertising your product. I think it sucks that IGN and them won't get back to you just because you don't have like a big fucking publisher though. Like,
wow, it's like they get like 5,000 emails a day from the 18-year-old in his basement making the next WoW killer. So we're just, it's not that they're looking at our email and being like, fuck these guys. It's just their AI is just going, fuck these guys. Let's see what Ubisoft has
twiddling
to say.
their mustaches, going, no.
Yeah,
we'll have to
exactly.
like tweet about them and tag them in a bunch of stuff. Just be like, look at this game.
Yeah, look at this game, people.
Talk about it, okay?
Yeah, you hear that, community? Tweet at all the big people and tell them to give us some play.
I only recently like really got into Twitter, and I still tweet really dumb stuff like all the time because I just don't know what to tweet about.
Yeah, no, me neither. Do you get traction? Do you get traction on it?
No, not all the time. Sometimes I just tweet I'm hungry.
She's using TikTok now. TikTok's the way.
TikTok's the way. TikTok's the way.
So, yeah, but I'm still really surprised. I don't know what is popular on TikTok. I know I posted a comic with one of my main characters asking God if angels wear gray sweatpants. And
valid question.
But, that got like over 10,000 views. And but it got over like 80 comments of people just arguing about, because we gave God patchy kind of skin like vitiligo, because I didn't want to deal with people being like, he's not white, he's not black, he's not Chinese. So I just like mixed it. But man, like people
had some opinions
going in. They were so angry, and it was funny. So I finally just had to make a post and be like, guys, like, if you can get me some photographic evidence of what he looks like, I'll definitely change it. Selfies are welcomed. Right?
So that's the key to TikTok. Spawn a theological debate.
Yeah.
You're gonna get a bunch of pictures of like Jesus on toast or something like that.
He looks like actually, a Cheeto.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's well. I mean, that's the internet, right? In general, that's probably not limited to TikTok. If you were to do that on Instagram or Twitter,
no. Instagram, people just laughed. Really, it wasn't like TikTok.
Really?
People were because this is an old comic. I just reposted it on TikTok.
That's so interesting, because I would have thought like the age of TikTokers would have been way lower than Instagram, and
that's what I thought. Like they wouldn't care, but they care a lot. Mm-hmm. And it's just funny. It's just funny to me. Like I made a whole video about it. It was hilarious. But I also wanted to bring up, this is super random, but like I remember when you posted that video of like it was like a tower, and it was just like, I don't know, it was like 4 to 5 seconds of it. I thought it was dope. I was like, this is so cool. This is going to be in the game. And some guy wrote like, this doesn't make me interested in the game. I don't know what he said.
Was it on Facebook or?
It was on Facebook. It was on Facebook.
God.
And I was just like, no, like, it's dope. And he was like, how much are they paying you? And I was I wish they were paying me.
That was that whole thing. Like, I remember it was going back and forth with that guy. Okay, paid commenter and this and that.
Right. Yes. But like you handled it so professionally. I just stopped commenting. I was like, whatever.
After all the hate on like Facebook is just like, you just open the door to all of this stuff, and I just got like this. It wasn't copy and paste, but I just got like a script that I would turn where someone would say something like, thanks for the paid comment, and then you'd be like, she's not paid. Yes, she is, and I can tell. And then you'd say back, you're like, nope, she's just really, really great. Okay, that's exactly. And then you just like, it doesn't matter what you say.
It doesn't matter what you say.
Are all going to come back. So then what I do, my like retort is just like playing that conversation out for like months and months and just being like, and then you would say this, and then I would say this, and then you would say this, and then eventually we would realize the wisdom and the insight of your comments. We would quit the project altogether, give up our jobs in game development, and go work at Arby's if they would take us. But by then, our reputation would probably be so sullied by your ingenious comments that no one would hire us ever again. The end. Can we just not have that conversation and go our separate ways, stranger on the internet?
Yeah,
I'm always shocked in
People
general.
People just find a way to shit on your stuff, and I just don't understand that. I do not understand that. If you don't like it,
I mean,
shut the fuck up and just move on.
No, it's their way of like exercising control, no doubt, in a life and in a world where they feel completely powerless. And this is one moment that somebody's going to give them attention and make them feel like they have some sort of power. And you just kind of have to look at these people and be like, what? Like with genuine compassion, and just be like, what is your life like that this is what you're spending a Friday night yelling at people about? Like,
some people do it from just fucking, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not audacity. The audacity of these people, but privilege. Some people do it from a place of privilege. Like they think they have the right. And it's like, you're not creating. Show me what you're creating. Show me the game that you're making. And then come talk to me about what I'm doing wrong.
I'm also just confused as to like, who are these people that think that indie developers have a bunch of money to just pay random people on Facebook to say nice things about their game? It's like, you think you'd be featured on IGN if you had money to pay for
right? Yeah, right? This is what we're spending our money on: fighting trolls in the comment section of one of our videos on Facebook.
I appreciate the huge check that I just cashed from you guys.
Right.
Like, thank you so much.
Just every positive comment
going into the college fund.
Isn't that one of those $1,000 Funko Pops behind you, Destiny? That looks new.
I wish I had $1,000 fucking Funko Pop.
Well, keep those comments up, lady. Might be sooner than you think.
Might have been 2,000 if you kept commenting. You stopped, walked away from the bag. What can I say?
I was trying to be good, okay? I want to start arguments on his thread.
Not good enough. Not good enough.
Before we move on to news, I will make sure to have all the links for the Kickstarter in the thread below. But Ryan, very quickly, hit us with those plugs before we move on to news. Tell us, where can people find more about yourself, Fractured Veil, and the awesome stuff you guys are working on?
Holy cow. So if you want to watch me bungle up live streaming on a regular basis, you can go to twitch.tv/Paddle Creek Games. That's usually where I hang out. All of the amazing links can be found on fracturedveil.com. That's a great place to go for our Discord. You'll get a pop-up about the Kickstarter. We've got an amazing Facebook group that, again, I didn't think a Facebook group would ever be a thing, but we have the most positive, like, active people on Facebook in the group, and then Discord, of course. But all of those links at fracturedveil.com. And that's where we are.
Perfect. And by the way, I know you sent Destiny her check. I'm still waiting on mine. Whenever you get around to it, that'd be great.
You said nothing in the comments.
On those comments.
Yeah, you know what? That's on me. That's on me.
Yeah. This ain't no free show.
Right? You gotta work for it. I've commented several times.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's on me. That's my bad. I retract my previous statement. All right. Let's roll with some news. The first story that I'm going to be pulling from is from Eurogamer, written by Wesley Yin-Poole. Wesley writes, everything's shown in Sony's PlayStation Showcase 2021. All right, we're going to turn this into a bit of a game. I'm going to talk about something that was announced, and if you're excited about it, or if you want to tell me something about it, I want you to say blueberries, okay? And the floor is yours. You have the conch, okay?
Okay.
So instead of just going to everybody one by one, if you want to chime in, I want to hear blueberries, and we'll move on. Okay.
Okay.
So we had a massive PlayStation Showcase last.
Oh God damn it!
My bad.
I don't know what just happened. My entire world shook for a second.
I was excited to scream about fruit.
Thank you. I understand. I appreciate the support.
Okay, cool. Okay, never mind. I've got that out of my system. We're ready to go.
Perfect. Bananas. They had a massive showcase for the first time in quite a while last week. We're going to dig into some of the announcements. The first thing they started off with was a teaser trailer for the Knights of the Old Republic remake, developed by Asper. We have no launch date, nothing, but it's PlayStation 5 timed exclusive, also coming to PC. No Xbox at this point.
Blueberries?
Okay. Floor is yours.
Why do you sound so unconfused about it? Blueberries?
Blueberries?
What is a blueberry? I've never seen one before. So the thing that I think is the most interesting to me is the fact that Asper's developing it and that EA and BioWare have nothing to do with the remake. Like BioWare apparently like barely even knew that it was being made. So
Damn.
like,
jeez,
it's this is why it's like PlayStation console timed window exclusive. Like I don't know how I feel about it anymore, knowing that BioWare. I mean, I'm kind of happy EA is not involved, but like I'm not so happy that BioWare is not involved, and I want to know like how much of a remake is it going to be versus like a remaster, because I've never played the game and I want to play it with like the gameplay intact. I don't want them to make too many changes to that.
Why don't you just play the original then?
I mean, if the remake sucks, I will.
Oh, okay.
He's
Was that a dumb question? I don't know.
No, it's not a dumb question.
Oh,
I
okay.
think because
All right.
if they update it with like better graphics, I'd want to play it like the more modern way. But like, yeah,
would
yeah,
they be able
good.
to like to just update it if BioWare like had
I have
like
no idea.
produced some of it? Like,
I don't know.
wouldn't that? Okay. Well, I mean, you're asking questions, so I was asking questions, Darren.
So I mean, as a game developer, you've got a game dev on the podcast. I can shed a little bit of light as to what's going on here.
Ooh,
Perfect.
shed the light.
So what they're probably doing is they're gonna, I don't know, but I'm gonna guess they're gonna bring it to a modern engine, and maybe not. Maybe they've reworked the old engine, but they're going to be up-resing all of the graphics. There was a great article that came out last week about how remasters are using AI to up-res the textures from their old games to 4K.
Interesting.
So the first thing they're going to do is feed all of the textures in, because that's going to make the biggest difference by far. It's just feeding all of these like 128 by 128 textures in and making them 4K by 4K, going through kind of hand painting where the AI failed, going through the models. You can do things like mesh smoothing and stuff like that on models to take a Lara Croft 1 looking character and make her like a Lara Croft 4 looking character before you have to start like redoing everything from scratch. So they're probably just going to run it through a bunch of these automated tools. That's just going to make the poly count on screen go up by like a factor of 10, the texture resolution and memory required go up by a factor of 10, and then perhaps if they're using a new engine, then you're adding in all of the new dynamic lighting and post-processing and everything else. If they're using the old engine, they're probably going to have to pick and choose which elements of that technology they want to upgrade. So it might be better dynamic lighting, it might be a little bit better post-processing, but the main thing is probably just up-resing the models and the textures. And for that, you're going to need a better GPU, and you'll get to kind of see it, because I can remember there's a couple of games that did this, and it was like a huge difference. It was massive, because your brain, when you played it like 20 years ago, you're remembering it being like this amazing thing, and you go and look at it again, you're like, oh, I don't remember it being that terrible. And then you play like the remaster, and the remaster is kind of like what your brain remembered the old one being.
Well, recently,
So
what we're going to get to this, I guess, in a second, but the Alan Wake remaster that they talked about, I think was doing that, because everyone's like, oh, this looks like garbage. It looks like they haven't made a difference. But then you put the old screenshot beside the new screenshot, and there's a huge difference.
Right. Yeah. Huge. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so I mean, we'll find out more about the KOTOR remake in the future. The next thing that they showed off was Project Eve, a very Bayonetta-looking action game coming from South Korea. The one thing I'll say about this game, it does look very cool, but good lord, that trailer was long. Anybody stoked on Project Eve and wants to tell me more about the feelings? All right, moving on.
No, I want to say one thing.
You have to say blueberries first.
Sorry, blueberries.
Thank you, Destiny.
Even if you don't know what they are.
I want you to finish your thought. What were you going to say?
Oh, just another PS5 exclusive. So
yeah. No,
how excited are us PC players excited for this?
What I want to say really quickly,
a lot of side boob. That's all I know about this game. A lot of side boob.
One of my favorite YouTubers.
A lot of side boob? Is that what you said? I'm sorry, Darren.
Yeah.
That's all I see from the pictures. It's just side boob everywhere.
Is this the one where she has the really, really long hair that doesn't make sense?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Blueberries. Her really long hair doesn't make any sense. Sorry, Darren. But like it would get in the way. I actually tweeted about it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I remember
Go
you
ahead,
tweeting
Darren.
about it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck?
You both actually brought up kind of what I was going to say. One of my favorite YouTubers, Kyle Bossman, was talking about this game, and he said like one of his biggest disappointments about the game is like it doesn't feel like there's any danger. Like, yeah, it looks like she's like it'll be a cool game combat wise or whatever, but he's like, you cannot look at this perfect doll and her like shiny bottom and think that bad things are going to happen. Like, she's going to make it out okay. Nothing bad will happen to her. They're not going to hurt her. There's not going to be any like tension in the game.
Okay. I didn't look at it
bottom?
like that.
Well, because like when you have a game where you've got some character that's like clearly designed to be this like extremely attractive character, you this character doesn't normally like there's no danger because like the developers would never hurt her because they spent so much effort designing her.
Didn't they say the same thing about like Nier Automata? Like half the game is just staring at her butt, so how could you really care about the action? Because the camera shots are just like so egregiously
fanfare.
upper. Fanny, I think it's called Fanny Fair. Actually.
Fanny fair. Ah, that was good. That was good.
That's my one for the night.
The next thing that we got was a look at Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, the fantasy-themed Borderlands spin-off coming from Gearbox.
Blueberries. That looked dope. That looked so dope. I'm not going to play it because I don't like Borderlands mechanics. Look, I can appreciate watching somebody else play a game that I think is really like artistically done well and like the narrative design is really good, but not want to play it myself. I do that often. Like if there's a game that I like and I don't want to play it myself, I'll watch it just because I like all the aspects of it and the cinematics of it. But like I just can't do the whole like use a controller to turn one way and like look another way and shoot one. It like fucks with me. I can't do it. But I like watching people play it because I think it's a good game. So I'm excited for it because she sounds hilarious. Like she's always been really funny. Her character is just really cool.
Okay,
yeah,
that's it.
I'll blueberries all over this one.
Blueberries away.
Big shout out to my man Matt Cox, the lead designer on this game over there at Gearbox, and taking kind of all of the fun stuff about Borderlands and then bringing it into a more whimsical with a lot more kind of dynamic gameplay styles. And I was watching that. Is there like a 2D or a top-down version that you play part of the game as? Because I saw it like cut to like a top-down isometric view for a while.
It looked like it.
It looked like it.
So I was just like, what are they doing with this? Like, I want more people to mix at going from a first-person shooter to like a top-down thing for a mission and then back to first-person shooter. So it just seems so dynamic and so exciting that, yeah, I'm super jazzed.
That was the D&D aspect of it.
Sure. Yeah.
Very excited for that.
Anyways, moving on. The next thing that we saw, we got a Darren is a Borderlands fan. We got a trailer for Forspoken, the new game coming from Square Enix's Luminous Productions. It's due out in spring 2022. I'm a blueberries on this one just because I can't wait for this game. I'm a sucker if I see a game that has really like fast and fluid movement, like think like all the Spider-Man from Insomniac's games. I'm immediately in, and the way that the main character moves in Forspoken is just so fluid, and it looks like there's so much dynamic variety in her abilities and the way that you can handle situations. I'm so stoked on this. I'm excited that it's spring 2022, assuming it doesn't get delayed, because this is sooner than I was expecting it, and I'm just stoked to get my hands on it. It looks fucking awesome.
Matt, are you stoked?
I am stoked.
Wait, are you stoked?
I am stoked.
Whoa. Okay,
I have started seeing everybody use that word, and it's like killing me.
I never stopped.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I mean other people like on Twitter, people are just like, I'm stoked. And I'm like, find another adjective.
Making a comeback. This is the thing. When you've been saying a word for 20 years and everyone's laughing at you like 15 years ago, you're like, just wait until
everything does come back.
I'm
waiting for the high five to come back. I keep trying to bring it back one hand at a time.
Like on the
bang.
Boom.
But no, I'm really excited about the game. I think my only issue is that like when I see them do the close-ups of them speaking, I just feel like they look kind of dead, and like their emotions aren't being conveyed as well as when they're speaking. Why are you laughing?
Because I mean,
Is this
I
going
agree
back
with
to
you.
the dead children thing?
I know.
Okay.
I agree with you. I don't
No,
even know
listen. No. It was no. I'll explain.
I
It was
know
the
exactly
day-
what you're
I don't
talking
even
about.
know.
Thank you.
I've
Can
got-
you explain so I don't
It
sound
was
like I'm
in
crazy?
DokeV. It's another game that was unveiled a couple of weeks back where you're like, it's like another game coming from South Korea where it's like a very cute, bubbly Monster Hunter-esque game, but like kind of it's very, very like visually interesting. But when we were talking about it, Darren and I both made comments that the kids kind of looked dead inside, like their eyes were just very
Thank you.
expressionless.
Darren's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Making me sound crazy.
No, but I agree. Actually, Destiny, like I think that it's still early for the game, so I think the lip syncing is a little bit off. Like especially when they were talking and like their facial.
I really noticed that.
Yeah, it was particularly noticeable in the trailer. But I mean, it's still early, and I'm hoping that's something that gets fixed. But
yeah, I hope it gets fixed. I think I'm just really spoiled with The Witcher as a game.
Yeah,
like because and God of War. Like their facial expressions and their narrative design is like so on point that like when I see another game and it's like just a little off, I'm like, yeah, y'all need to fix that. Like, I don't know. It can be done, so I feel like it needs to be done.
Setting the bar.
Yeah. The next thing that we got to see was another trailer for Ubisoft's Rainbow Six Extraction, due January 2022. All right. We got another look at the Alan Wake remaster coming. Well, Darren, correct me if I'm wrong. We didn't actually get a date on this at the showcase, right?
I don't think we did.
No, but leaks are apparently saying it's coming out in less than a month. Alan Wake remaster is coming.
Yeah, I said what I had to say about it already, and I think the price point is good. It's $30. It's not a full price game.
Okay.
So I think
I don't know, but does Alan Wake need a remaster? It wasn't that long ago, was it? Wasn't it like 7 or 10 years ago?
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. I think the reason they're doing it is because of Control and the Alan Wake DLC. And Alan Wake's never been on any platforms other than 360 and PC. So this one's coming to PS4 as well and PS5. So some of the Sony fans can play it, and they can play it before they play the Control DLC, or maybe they're trying to tease an Alan Wake 2 or something like that. I think that's probably the thought behind it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, wait 10 years, man. Like, when did the first Alan Wake?
It's just it came out 2 years ago. We need a remake.
I know. Like, we know that you're just
one. The first one came out in 2010.
2010, 11 years ago.
Okay, 11 years ago.
It holds up.
It does seem kind of soon to remake a game, right?
But I mean, when we're talking about the remake for that other game, right? Like you're going to see like KOTOR, you're going to see a massive difference in visuals from Knights of the Old Republic to what they're going to remake. This is going to be like, it's 20% better. Oh, look at the way the shadows. Look at the refractions on that water.
Oh, the water.
That
oh
caustic.
My God.
That's real nice.
Guys, when I was going to school for like 3D animation, like that's how we would judge a film on its like
caustics and refraction.
On the water. If the water was really well done, we'd be like, oh my God, that water's dope as fuck. Like that's how it was. Like you'd always look at the water because, everything else is kind of cartoony. But if the water was done, you'd be like, I know that sounds weird, but ask anybody who was going to school. Never mind, I'm not going to tell you when I was.
Right now.
Yeah, that's how it was. That's
messaging how it was. Somebody at this moment.
If the water is
at
good.
This moment, through 3 people, they're like, nah, man. it was all about glass refraction and
shadows and
global
water
illumination.
All right. The next thing that we got was a trailer for GTA 5 coming to PS5. That's coming March 2022. I'm not even going to stop here.
Wait, Blueberries.
Is it a remaster?
I just wanted to talk about the fact that, like, you guys, when you play it, please take time to look at the needles on the cactus because they spent a lot of time modeling those out. So if you're able to get out of the car, which I don't think is an option, just be aware that they did that because they talked about that
Oh my
at
god!
E3
Come on.
for
Come
like
on.
4 minutes. No, they really did.
Is that something for like role players? Do role players need this? Because one of the things that we're learning with Fractured Veil is just like how important role players are to a game's livelihood in terms of getting people to watch it on Twitch and YouTube, but then also like what you need to do to make sure that people can create this amazing content. And I'm guessing that like needles on cacti.
I mean, it must have been important because they took time to talk about it during the showcase. I just want to remind everybody.
They just had
to
nothing else.
Look at the needles.
I think that was during Gran Turismo segment, not Grand Theft Autos.
Oh, you're right. It was during Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
They just wanted to have like a non-ironic way of saying we're really pushing the needle on this one, guys. And everyone's like, no, serious.
God.
We're being
We
serious.
need a Bully sequel. That's all I'm going to say to them.
There you go. Next, we got another Bethesda game. Tango Gameworks Ghostwire Tokyo is coming in spring 2022 to PS5 and PC. I'm going to blueberries real quick. This game looks dope. The more I see about it, the more interested I get. For like horror-esque thriller type games, if I feel powerful, even in the face of powerful enemies, I tend to enjoy them more than if I have to like run around and just hide all the time. I want to feel like I have some agency. So this one looks right up my alley. Stoked that it's coming out in spring. Next year is already going to be screwed sideways with the amount of amazing content we're going to be getting. But that's my thoughts. Anybody else?
You say blueberries so fast. It's like you don't even take a breath.
Mm-mm. It's like it's a one syllable word.
It's
for you.
yeah.
It's like
Blueberries.
Yeah, for sure.
The next thing we got was a new trailer from Eidos Montreal's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Montreal represent.
Wait, are you in Montreal?
Hails to the yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wait, I didn't know
you
that.
were Canadian.
I thought you were from the U.S. because you talked about Hawaii so much. I don't know why I made that correlation.
Also, the dev side of the company is here in Montreal, and the biz side of the company is in Washington State in Seattle.
Oh,
my wife is American, if that means anything.
I mean, that's dope too.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Pretty dope.
I'm even more excited because you're Canadian. That's awesome. The next thing that we got was what we talked about briefly at the top of the show: a new trailer for a free-to-play battle royale Vampire the Masquerade Blood Hunt, which is coming to
That looks so good.
Blunt Hunt. Blunt Hunt would be a great.
Blunt Hunt would be a great game.
Battle royale.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm copywriting this right now.
Yeah, there you go.
After I just take a hit.
That is coming to PlayStation 5 later this year, and it's already apparently out in PC early access.
Yeah,
because PC's dope.
PC is dope. It's where the cool kids. I'll blueberries this and just say it is so refreshing to see something that's not Fortnite, that's not Call of Duty, that's not the other big one, PUBG. Break in and do something interesting. All of like my favorite streamers are playing this. And I love the gameplay. I love the verticality. I love the special moves. It doesn't seem like it's hokey pokey. Like the combat still feels intense. It still has that battle royale intensity to it, but it adds just so much more. And it's indie too, right? Like you can tell it's just got that indie feel to it. And I'm really happy to see somebody else chipping away at that multi-billion-dollar pie besides people that don't need the money.
Yep, I hope that game is a success, and I'm excited for it to come to PlayStation later this year.
We should play it.
I will. It's free to play. Why not?
Yeah, do it.
We got another Deathloop trailer, even though that game is out imminently. Didn't need that, but the game is awesome. The next thing we got was something that nobody still really knows what the hell this is. Kid A / Amnesiac Virtual Exhibition presented by Radiohead and Epic is coming to PS5 and PC and Mac in November 2021. It's something Radiohead related. It's some virtual exhibition thing.
I thought that was something in Fortnite.
Fortnite?
Guess not.
Radiohead.
I thought it was something. I thought it was like one of their events in Fortnite, but I guess not. It's just an Epic Store standalone exclusive.
Yeah, I think it's
I'm guessing they're related to their Kid A album.
It's celebrating 21 years.
Yeah, it's getting some like re-release or something as well, so that could be all wrapping in together.
Another remaster.
There you go. We got a fresh look at, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Chia inspired by New Caledonia. It's launching exclusively on PS4, PS5, and Epic Games Store in 2022. I'll blueberries this one real quick. This was super cute. This is the one where you were like diving into animals and you can run around the island. And I got like almost like Breath of the Wild vibes mixed
super
with
adorable.
just jumping into animals' bodies. Really cute.
Tweeted
and I think it's pronounced chia.
I remember those.
Thank you for correcting me.
No
the next thing that we got, Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy are being remastered. There you go, for PS5 and PC. Coming out early 2022. That means Uncharted is officially coming to PC for the first time. Then we get into the biggest stuff that they closed out on. Wolverine is getting a game developed by Insomniac, who have been all over the Spider-Man franchise. I'll let somebody else go first this time before I freak out for a sec.
I'll go for a blueberry or two. Obviously we don't know anything about the game other than it has Wolverine in it and Insomniac's making it, but except they also confirmed it is in the same universe as the Spider-Man Insomniac game. So there's a potential for that to cross over to some degree. But Insomniac has been the most productive first party developer for Sony, and it's insane that they can come from Miles Morales to Ratchet and Clank to Spider-Man 2 to Wolverine so close together. So I don't know how they do it, but congrats.
It's crazy how what you can do when you have tons of money to do it,
and billion-dollar IPs
yeah.
and everything.
But they have.
What's really impressive for them is they're one of the few big AAA developers that also has no crunch. Allegedly, they don't crunch their developers, and yet they're still this productive. It's that's pretty impressive.
Maybe they're just better at planning,
or they just have way more money.
Yeah, so they can hire more people to do the work that needs to be done.
Yeah, I'm super stoked on Wolverine. I actually really like the X-Men Origins Wolverine game. That actually had dismemberment and stuff. I'm curious to see as to how far they're going to take it, but Insomniac's doing it. I'm in. One of my biggest questions is it open world and to what extent? Because Spider-Man, like I said, traversal's fun because it's fast, it's fluid. Are you going to be Wolverine, but you're going to jump on a motorcycle to traverse a larger area? Or I'm curious to see how they're going to work that in. But they did say it is very, very early days for that, so we're not going to see that anytime soon, but we got an announcement. The next thing that we got, as Destiny pointed out, watch those cacti in Gran Turismo 7 coming in March 2022. Got a big in-depth look at that. Again, that was way too long. Look at the cactus.
Way too long.
Look at the cacti.
It's cars. They're racing. Okay.
Look at the cacti.
And make sure you look at the cacti.
They also showcasing that game at Gamescom, right?
Yeah, they've announced it before.
Yeah, and it was just I was watching their interviews, and oh man, it's just you're at Gran Turismo 7, it's cars, and I just felt like it was the same as the cacti thing. They were just reaching so hard to try to find new and exciting things about this. The game looks gorgeous. It's going to be amazing for car fans, but is it delivering something way beyond what the last one did? I don't know.
Yeah.
And just watching those interviews, it was just the softball questions that would get lobbed, and then just the generic PR answers that would get fired back. And it was just this back and forth thing that went on. And I was just
I'm going to get a lot of hate about this, but I feel the same way about the Fast and Furious series. And I'm sorry, I know people love it, but it's the same shit.
The film or
every film.
Oh,
every film, it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Sorry,
and people are yeah, the new Fast and Furious is coming out, and I'm yeah, same
but
people.
If it makes you feel any worse, I feel the same way about every single superhero movie that's ever been made since Michael Keaton's Batman. It's Michael Keaton's Batman was the last good superhero film. Everything else is and The Watchmen, that was incredible. But everything else, I'm just sometimes I'm just waiting for them to call cut in the movie because it's so over the top. I'm this can't be real, right? This is an ironic way of representing action. Someone's going to be ha, okay, good rehearsal, guys. Look at the camera, break the fourth wall, and be yeah. But no, the whole thing just takes itself, and I'm just oh. So I'm just taking the hate off of you and dumping it on me.
Okay. No, I feel the same way. I haven't watched a lot of the superhero movies, and every time I bring it up, like they're always like, you gotta go watch it. Promise you'll go watch it. Say you're gonna go watch it. And I'm like, I might.
Ryan,
I just don't care.
Did you see the Watchmen TV show?
Yes, amazing.
That was really
spectacular.
Good.
It's all amazing. It's all good. It's so good. And I'm just like, why can't they all be like this? Like, have some depth. Have some depth.
The mouse wants money.
The mouse will get the money.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's so good.
But they were kind of shitty before the mouse got it.
I still love this stuff.
I disagree. I mean, I disagree with all of what everyone said about
the X-Men series that came out before Disney even bought them. The original 3 X-Men. You cannot fucking sit there and be like, yeah, those were really good.
The first 2 were really good.
You can't. Nope, you can't. She just said you can't do it. Don't.
No, they were not. They were.
All right. This is gonna. Yeah, that's gonna be a whole show on itself.
Yeah.
The second last announcement that we got, speaking of superheroes, Insomniac's Spider-Man 2, which is going to have Venom and possibly Kraven. It looks like Miles and Peter are both going to be playable. That is coming out in 2023. Blueberries, I cannot fucking wait. Venom is one of my favorite villains. Kraven is fucking awesome if he's actually there. I cannot wait to have Miles and Peter both playable. Good Lord, I just want this game now.
And
very excited.
So many Peters.
I want to say, because I feel like I always have to balance out and say the opposite of what everyone else is saying. To go back to Gran Turismo 7, at least Gran Turismo 7 showed like gameplay for the entirety of that like 4-minute trailer, whereas I was disappointed that Wolverine's not coming out till like 2023, so like that's a cinematic trailer.
Wait,
I would have let
all they showed was the cars driving around. Like
they showed the menus, they showed like the tune-up
car
system
customization. Yeah,
they showed like actual like
that's what the game is.
I mean, like I don't see how that's different than the other ones.
Well, it's different because
it's for the fans, right?
It's actual gameplay.
I get that it's for the fans. Yeah. I get it.
With Spider-Man, we just got like, CG trailer. That's it.
Apparently, they said that's all actually in-game engine. Like that's like actual what like they said it's
actually
gonna look like that. But I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, they're not playing the game.
Maybe, Darren.
Yeah,
and the very last
moving on.
The very last one, which was a massive reveal right at the end. Santa Monica Studios' God of War Ragnarok got a lengthy trailer, 3 minutes of
nice.
Again, which looks like completely in-game. They confirmed that it's going to be all one take, just as God of War 2018 was, and that Thor is going to be there. We got some concept art. Looking
People
at some of the new characters. Yep.
Thor.
God of War Ragnarok. Apparently, and they confirmed. Sorry, last thing before you jump in.
Go ahead.
They apparently did confirm in the blog post it is still aiming for a 2022 release because that was not shown in the showcase. They waited in the blog post after, still aiming for 2022. But they use that verbiage of still aiming for. They haven't officially confirmed the 2022 release date. Sorry, Destiny. Over to you.
No, it's okay. So I just wanted to bring up like the controversy that people are really upset. Some people are really, really upset about how Thor looks.
Oh, really?
Compared to other people. I like the way he looks, but I think a lot of people have like just pictured like what's his name?
Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah,
right.
like that's what they think of Thor looking like. So like this Thor, they're like, that's not what he's supposed to look like. And I was like, well, again, with the whole photographic evidence, if you guys have some pictures of what he actually looks like, we'll like fix that up. I mean, like it's what they want him to look like. So like chill. I like it. And it still fits in like the theme. I will admit, I did not expect him to have the stomach that he had because like Kratos doesn't have a stomach. No, for real. Like you think of like a battling kind of god. You think they're like all right, but he's like stocky still.
All right, give me the photographic evidence, and I'll back you up on this one.
Yeah, see,
all right,
see. But he looks. It's mostly men who are like. It seems that are upset with the way he looks, and like a bunch of like
their masculinity is being offended somehow.
Yeah,
yep.
Yeah. A bunch of women are just like, "Hey, daddy."
Like, no doubt.
All on my Twitter, so I'm just like, yes.
It's like don't be offended, but this is what peak male performance looks like. That's what Thor is.
That and like people are upset that there's and I don't necessarily know if this character is black or not, but she does have a darker skin tone and her voice actress is biracial. So I'm assuming she's either biracial or supposed to be of some sort of African descent, but she's absolutely gorgeous. And I just want to say that they are like really doing the work when they try to make their characters look authentic, from like the hair texture to everything else going on with the character. I was super excited to see her in the game. I didn't even know that's something I wanted until they showed her on screen, and I was just like, yo, that's so dope that they're bringing her into this world. But a lot of people are upset about that as well.
A lot of people are upset about a lot of things all the time. It's like we're addicted to rage.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah.
So.
Ragnarok looks super dope. I'm very excited for it.
It looks so good. I can't wait.
And also, you had there was another controversy very quickly before we wrap. People were there was one account that was complaining about how like, oh look, there's the devs are so lazy. It's the same animation of when he's getting in the boat as it was in 28's God of War. It's like, yes, please make an entire new fucking animation for them getting into the boat.
Right, that's again. People just they want to be
They
outraged.
want something to complain about. Like that's so stupid.
But, it's just ridiculous.
Like kudos for them though. I had a great podcast. I had a great stream with a guy named Big Fry, and we were just talking about like mad respect for I think Ubisoft. I have some of the most respect for them in terms of where they decide to spend money and energy, and where they decide just to like reuse and recycle. And you look at like the Division 2, you look at, was it Wildlands or the other open world one, and they just like blatantly are reusing stuff across the board because they know nobody gives a damn about like the wrecked, burnt out car from the Division 1 that's in the Division 2. Is like there's some gamer somewhere that's like, how did that car get from New York? It doesn't have any wheels to Washington D.C. and they're all freaking out about that. But they're like, no, we're going to put all of our money on like AI in an open world and render distances that are 10 times longer and all of this fun stuff. And it's the same with those people. Like that animation, they just saved $1,000 on a boat animation. Now you get $1,000 spent on something else instead that you actually care about.
Yeah.
People are dumb. They do it in all industries. One of the main industries they do it in is in Disney films. Like you can actually look it up where they reuse animations over and over. They do it in films too. They'll take like sequences. I think one of the ones that like I've seen is they took a sequence from I don't remember which X-Men cartoon it was. It wasn't the 90s one. It was the one where they're kind of like in high school.
Evolution.
But there's this it was an X-Men
that
Evolution.
Was really
they took
fast.
it was one of his cartoons anyway.
Gotcha.
There's a scene where the girls are walking down the hall and they actually took that from The Craft. I don't know if you guys remember that movie. It was about these witches. Yeah, thank you. Sometimes I name stuff and they just look at me and I'm just like, man. But they took the entire scene and animated over it.
That's hilarious. They just like rotoscope.
Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah, the whole thing.
But I mean, like smart on them because what they're doing is they're being like, how much overlap is there between these two audiences? Like none. So the only people that are going to care are going to be like archaeologists digging this stuff up 500 years. But sure enough, we're now in this age where somebody's like butthurt because they did that. Like,
and it's dumb. People are so sensitive now. Like, what's wrong with it? Like, why is he going to get into like the boat 20 different ways? Like,
don't waste your time and your resources on that. Just make a cool fucking game. Nobody's gonna remember the fucking.
I'm
boat
excited
launch.
about it. They're still gonna watch it. They're still gonna play it.
Exactly, and that at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. But that brings us to the end of this very large episode of the Burnout Brighter podcast. Ryan, one last time before we close out, where can people find you? Give us those plugs one more time.
FracturedVeil.com, spelt exactly the way that you think it would be spelt, with no dashes, no periods, no anything, just FracturedVeil.com. You can hit our Kickstarter that's going on right now. You can hit our Discord. You can go to our Facebook group. You can read about the story. You can read about development updates, all of the stuff about this amazing open world, massive survival game that we've been working our butts off for 5 years. So that's where we are at. And don't forget to go to lv1gaming.com, see some amazing articles from their newest member of the team. And where can we find stuff on you guys? What's your Instagram and TikTok handles and postal codes and social insurance numbers?
I don't even know if I want to put my TikTok because it's still like
I want to
work
flame
in
you.
progress.
Come on, I'm angry. I'm angry at your depiction of a person that may or may not have existed and how they look.
Exactly.
I want to yell at you.
Yeah, I will make sure to put all of the links in the description below, including Destiny's TikTok, just because that'll be fun. So make sure you go support Fractured Veil's Kickstarter. Go check it out. The links will be right here. There's not a ton of work. Just fucking scroll down and click.
Right there. Just
thank
click.
you, Ryan. Thank you once again for joining us. It is so much fun talking with you.
Oh,
and I
let's
hope you
do this
enjoyed your
again.
time. It's been a blast. Oh, we will.
Oh,
for sure.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna play it and stream it.
Awesome.
Darren
so
and
excited.
Destiny, thank you once again for joining me. It's been a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.
Peace out.
Later.
Rust on crack or something like that.
Rust on crack. I like that one. I'm
So
not promoting crack, guys.
Good call. Good call.